Hello, loves. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Carrie from Apothecary Tarot, and if you have been here before, welcome back. I'm going to be doing our full moon reading for today, which is September 20th. It's a full moon in Pisces, so if you are really feeling a lot of feels, that is apparently part of the deal. I don't know my astrology the way I know tarot, but I have been, and it's kind of cool because as I'm recording this is actually the time that the full moon's going to be rising. It's a harvest moon, so it should, if it clears up enough, it'll be a nice big bright orange moon, which is always nice to see. It's also kind of an interesting energy because it's election day in Canada today, so it's just an overall interesting energy. So what I understand about the full moon in Pisces is that because the Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac, we might be feeling endings, things that are closing in order for other things to open. So you might find yourself being invited to look at how you accept and move through disruption and change, and whether yeah, just how much discomfort you feel around that. So that's definitely a theme, and then we'll see what the cards have to say. First, I think it's going to be a challenging autumn. We're never challenged just to be challenged, so we can continue to look for learning opportunities through this. But I just want to take a minute with you to take a couple of deep breaths before we do this reading, and just take a moment to just be with yourself, whatever that looks like, however you've been feeling today. I'll ask you to shelf whatever's really worrying you if you can. This reading won't be very long. It's usually 15 to 20 minutes. But I feel like just let's all take a collective couple of deep breaths before we do this, and just kind of remind yourself that wherever you're at, you are doing the very best you can. We're always doing the best we can with what we have, no matter what that looks like. We're not designed as humans to knowingly do harm. Most of us anyway. So yeah. And just ground in and remember that the earth has us. So we've got energy coming in from above, and then we've got roots that go all the way down into the earth, so we are supported. Take a moment with that. I'm going to light a candle for us and ask for the most helpful information from this reading that we can receive. And hopefully I will maintain daylight while I do this. It might get dark. We'll see. So one thing that seems to happen overnight, doesn't it? The shortening of the days. It seems like one day you've got till 9:30, and then the next day it's 6. Today it's almost 7, and we're doing all right. All right. I hope that shuffling wasn't too loud in the microphone. My microphone's been acting up, and so I've got it a little bit closer than usual. Hopefully you can hear me and not hear the shuffling too much. Okay, let's dive in. First card that I'm going to look at will be the card just where we're at right now. Something we need to know about where we're at. 5 of Swords. Oh, I wish I had so much more time to talk about this card because it's an interesting one. So traditionally this card has been known as someone holding an unfair advantage, somebody who has information. I don't know anything about stocks, but I think about that, you know, people have been in trouble because they knew something about the stocks they weren't supposed to do, that kind of energy. But there's a tarot reader that I'm blanking on their name, but I will put it in the description because I want to give them credit for this, because they kind of turned my mind around about the 5 of Swords, and they spoke about how in the traditional decks it looks a little bit different. In this one you see that there's someone, you know, quite upset, and looks like they're leaving with nothing, but their interpretation was more to do with a good deed being done without drawing attention to themselves. So somebody going in, their example was if you were a nonprofit and you were trying to raise funds for an event you wanted to do, and you were right at the deadline. If you didn't get the money by midnight that night, you weren't going to be able to do it, and then an anonymous donor gives you the money you need. So it's that kind of, so I kind of like that spin on it, because Swords are always in our mind. They have to do with how we process things, how we see the world. And so it would be easy to see like someone sneaking away as that they've done something wrong. But I would love to invite you into that thinking that maybe sometimes people are conspiring for us, whether we realize it or not. And fives always bring about change. That's one thing they do, and it's, you know, kind of the theme we were looking at about this month. Fives bring change. They bring necessary change. So they break us out of stagnation. They kind of shake up the things that need to be shooken up. So it's a rich card. So next we will look at what is in our path. This can be, I don't like to say positive or negative because all tarot cards carry both of those. But it's something that's kind of asking for our attention right now before we move on. Ooh, nice. The Hierophant. And I love this deck because traditionally the Hierophant looks quite a bit like a Pope or a Roman Catholic figure, and it makes it hard for folks like me with kind of, what's the word? Uncommon spiritual beliefs and that kind of thing to align with. But this is sort of more the spirit of the Hierophant. This is a major arcana card. And it's asking for deeper learning. It's asking for, sometimes this can be mentorship for you, and other times it will be you guiding others through mentorship. So you'll probably know better what that means to you. But there's something to be shared, some wisdom. This is usually like a spiritual wisdom. So we'll see some of the decks have shamans and story keepers. I like to think about, like in Canada on Indigenous lands, if you're fortunate enough to spend any time with elders or people who share the stories, it's really fascinating, and it's really humbling and incredible the way knowledge is passed down that way. So the Hierophant represents that in some facets. So it could be you're being asked to share wisdom that you have, or you may be seeking out a mentor to share the wisdom that they have. But either way, it's another 5 too. So that's kind of neat. 2 5s right out of the gate. So yes, change is afoot. This card will be something to let go of, something that we're ready to release this month before the next full moon. Okay, we got the 2 of Wands in reverse, so I'm going to show you upright first. I don't know why my camera's having trouble. Maybe I'll take a photo of these and put it in the email as well if you're on my mailing list. If you're seeing this on YouTube, I don't know how that would work. Maybe I'll put a link to the MailChimp link, but we got it reversed. So the 2 of Wands traditionally has to do with kind of standing in the doorway to something we want to create. So wands are fire energy. They have to do with our passions, the things that we really love talking about, the things that we love to do, more so than the things that we have to do, the practical matters. So 2 of Wands reversed could have something to do with standing on the doorway, really wanting to take a step but being stuck there for a while. So sometimes with the 2s we'll get stuck in whether or not to take action, which action to take. With the 2 of Wands, because upright, we're creating a doorway that we're ready to step through and we're ready to make this thing. But with it being reversed, it probably has to do with a couple of things. One thing that we know what we want to do next, but it's really scary. It's something that requires us to step farther out of our comfort zone than we have been. I know because I'm kind of a born hermit myself, that I've talked to a lot of folks who through this whole experience we've had for the last year and a half, they've gotten quite comfortable with being at home. And I'm gonna, full disclosure, I'm wearing Halloween jammies on the bottom here, so this, connecting through Zoom and that kind of thing has advantages for people who have trouble in social situations or don't love going out face to face. But what it can do is keep us kind of trapped, and it can start to get to the point where we're afraid to do that. So we go from preferring time alone at home to literally being afraid to step beyond that in order to see, and in some cases we have to. I've got a young son that's too young for any kind of protection against this, so I have to be very careful about the kind of interactions I have. So there may be many reasons for this. It's just something to be mindful of. If there's an opportunity that does not threaten your safety, and it's not it's something you really want to do, consider being brave enough to take that step, because it feels like maybe some of us are hung up there. I know I get hung up there, like I really want this thing, but it's kind of scary, so I push it back, and then no, I really want this thing. No, it's pretty scary. I'd have to show up. So be mindful of that. Because if you notice, in most decks you'll see some form of the person holding the world in their hand. So there is truly this world of opportunity. Probably has something to do with that gift we have to share. So just being courageous enough to step away. It also has a lizard. I think it's a gecko. I'm not. Oh my goodness, it will not. Yeah, I will definitely share a photo of these. But you know, and they're afraid. I don't know about geckos, but I know many lizards are able to shed their tails if they're under extreme threat. So they're willing to lose a part of their body to survive. So sometimes that's a reminder to us that we can step out of our comfort zone. We don't have to lose a body part, but we can step out of our comfort zone. Okay, so the next card is our sort of energy around us. So where the Five of Swords is where we're finding ourselves right now. This card has to do with what's happening around us. It still is a message to us, but it's sort of a little bit more external. And this is current, things that are happening now. Eight of Pentacles reversed again. So I'll show you upright so you get a sense of the card. And it actually makes perfect sense after the Two of Wands reversed. Because the Eight of Pentacles is a card of artisanship, about honing our craft, about the time we've put in to gain a certain skill. And Pentacles are earth energy. They have to do with our practical world. So sometimes our home, our bodies, our finances, our work, as opposed to Wands are more to do with the things we're excited about and potentially like our vocation or something that we love doing. If you're lucky enough, the work that you put in is the same, and that you're actually receiving energetic compensation in some way for something you love doing. But with the Eight of Pentacles reversed, it could, all of this is, and this, I just realized I do have a course I'm offering in October, and I'm looking at these as they're coming up and realizing that it's ironically like, take a course on tarot. But anyways, joking aside, it has to do with sometimes honing your skills. So say you are somebody who is a fiber artist. You knit, you crochet, you create fiber, whether it's garments or whatever. The Eight of Pentacles reversed would say, don't assume that you have all of the skills you need. Don't assume that the level you've achieved means you don't have to learn any more about it. What it means is that you might have to seek out, challenge yourself. Like, you know, in my example, I can knit squares and I can knit triangles. But if I was wanting to sell things, or if I was wanting to up my game, I might learn how to make socks, which I've tried and failed. So it just has to, because it's reversed, it's saying that you have worked really hard, you have put a lot of work into your craft, but you're being asked to look at what comes next for you, whatever that looks like. What could have to do with a mentorship thing, whether you are seeking it out or whether you're teaching it. It might be that you're able to share what you've learned so far, and then that actually helps you grow, because in showing others how to do things, we learn different ways to explain it and different ways to speak about it. So because that came right after the Two of Wands, that's what I would see for sure. Next we have incoming energy. So this, I don't see this as like a prediction. I see this more as like energy we might be invited to move through, whether it's challenging or less challenging, just something that's sort of moving into our realm over the next little while. Ooh, Nine of Pentacles. Okay, and this was upright, so this is kind of cool. So coming right after, if you aren't familiar with tarot, each one of the suits, the pentacles, the wands, and things like that, if you lay them out, they're much like playing cards. They go from ace to 10, and there's a story there, all the way from the ace, which is the very beginning. Each step of the way, there's something gained, and it's a story. So after the Eight of Pentacles, if we're able to seek out where we could use more knowledge, where we could learn a little bit more, where we could expand our craft, the Nine of Pentacles speaks to comfort. And if you see, she's sitting in her garden, sipping a glass of wine, reading a good book. Would love it if my camera would cooperate, but kind of nines have to do with like sitting back and going, wow, this is what I've created. Like, this is what I've made for myself. And I feel called to share. I'll make it brief, but it kind of reminds me of, I am working with a trauma-informed therapist right now, and it's been really, really rich and an amazing experience. And one of the things that really hit home for me, so I want to share it just in case it hits home for you, is I'm doing a lot of inner child work and safety around where I was at that time in my life. And the therapist suggested that, or she reminded me that that child that survived in not necessarily the perfect conditions, built the life that I have now, built this life of compassion and love and reverence for other humans and things like that. And the Nine of Pentacles is kind of like that. It's kind of like sitting in what you've created. And it doesn't have to look impressive by society standards. It doesn't have to be a huge house. It doesn't have to be anything really. You might have a tiny house. You might have transformed a school bus into the perfect little house. But it's that moment of sitting and thinking, after everything I've been through, this is what I've made. And so that's a pretty beautiful energy to move into. And it really requires like putting aside anything about how you thought things would look by a certain age. You know, like I'm in my mid 40s now. I don't know what I thought it would look like, but I didn't picture where I'm at now. And it's also amazing. I'm in a place where I am able to take a moment every day and say like, okay, this is pretty cool. So the Nine of Pentacles is a reflective card. There is a bittersweetness there. I'll say that on the flip side of the Nine of Pentacles, sometimes we tend to look at what we wanted to achieve. And if we've achieved it, it may ask us, do we still want this? So on the flip side, if you have invested in a huge house, if you have followed a path that was something you always wanted to do, sometimes the Nine of Pentacles will flood us with this like, do I still want this? And that's okay. It's not, all it does is it invites us to take stock, like, okay, this is where I'm here now, this is where I wanted to be, is this still in alignment with who I am now? And it very well might be. You might be like, yeah, this feels amazing to finally be here. Other times it could be like, I think I'm ready for a change. I think I want to shed whatever I've created here and try something brand new. And at any age, that is amazing. So wherever that finds you, the Nine of Pentacles is quite a positive card. It does come with a feeling of being supported. So yeah, that's good stuff. So the last one is our meditation card. And this is something I pull to just something to keep close to our chest over the next month until the next moon cycle. I try to do these on full moons. Sometimes things come up and I don't do it. But tonight it is most certainly the full moon is rising, and it's an incredible time. So let's see what we should keep in mind this month. Okay, so let's get spicy. We've got the Ten of Swords reversed. So upright, no matter which deck you're looking at, this is usually kind of a dramatic looking card. Some form of someone being punctured by 10 swords in the back. So, you know, I always look at the positive side of things, but that one takes a bit of reimagining. What I will say is that the Ten of Swords, like this Pisces moon, is about endings. So what I love about the Ten of Swords is that it's almost always an ending or a door that needs to be closed that you've seen coming for a while. So I'm just going to adjust my curtains because it's getting really dark in here. So it's usually like, you can think of it as like a job that you've really been so unhappy with for a very long time. And then there's a catalyst where you're just like, I'm done. It stings, it's terrifying, it's destabilizing, and it's totally freeing. So the Ten of Swords comes with that kind of energy. It's reversed. So what that means is either we might be stalled in instigating an ending that we know needs to happen, or we're waiting for another way to make it easier. In some way, we're being asked to close a door or to close a chapter. So this month will be a good time to reflect on that. And like I said, that's sort of the theme of this full moon is endings. And I think in our, like in Western culture for sure, we tend to be we really hold on to things, and it's those very attachments that can make us resistant to change. It can make us suffer more than we maybe need to over things ending. So I invite you to spend some time in this. It can also be, because I believe the last three swords or last three cards in the swords can have to do with like mental health issues, with struggling with you know, if you're someone who already struggles with like depression, anxiety, those kind of things, the Ten of Swords can signal an end where you're just like, I've had enough. I'm going to get up, and what I can do today is shower. Maybe the next day what you can do is manage to eat one good meal. It's kind of that. So if you feel like you're stuck in that and you're maybe falling into like old habits, remember the swords are in our mind. So even though this person has swords in their back, it can look very, very like I said, dramatic. It is in our mind. So swords are always in our thought process. So even though we absolutely have a strong connection between our mind and our moods and our body, we do have all of the power we need in our mind to make this change, to say, I'm going to stand up. Yes, I've had the crap beaten out of me for however long. Yes, I've been really just like living in it, which we sometimes need to do. Sometimes if we've been through a lot, we really just need to sit in it and just let ourselves feel it. But with it being reversed, it's kind of saying, okay, but now what's next? Like, yes, this sucks. Yes, I've had, you know, I've got a lot on my mind. I've been asked to grapple with things that are almost unthinkable. And I would like to move on to the next stage of my life. So how do I start that? So, yeah, and it can be tiny little steps. Like I said, like sometimes just having a shower can be a day changer. Like if you know you've been kind of sitting in Halloween pajamas, not to point any fingers at myself, or you know, if you've been kind of stuck, like the Ten of Swords can come and say, okay, it's time to just like take one courageous step, especially with being reversed, because we may have been stuck there for a while. And especially before the days get darker and it gets a little more challenging to feel bright about things, start learning how to care for ourselves in little ways. I think that's really important. Number one, sometimes just meeting yourself where you're at, meeting yourself at Ten of Swords, realizing, you know what, today I just can't. But I'm going to promise myself that if I take today to rest and to really like just be with this, I promise that I will walk a block tomorrow, or I will go outside and weed my garden, or I will stand outside in the rain. Some little step towards taking care of yourself, because when it comes down to it, we're all we have. Like, yes, some of us have partners, some of us have families, some of us don't. When it's all stripped away, we are our primary caregivers. So it's really important that we recognize that we are worthy of taking up space, and we're worthy of being here in a meaningful way. Our experience is no less important than anybody else's, no matter how challenging it might be. So there is our reading. I hope it was helpful. I just noticed something that I've never noticed in this particular deck, but I love crows and ravens. I just have like a huge fondness for misfit birds. And I just noticed that that crow is dropping a feather for the person that's there. And I was thinking about how, what I was just saying about that idea of that tiny step, like, you know, because it can sometimes happen from someone else doing something kind for us that kind of makes us think, oh, wait a minute. Not always, but that can be another sign of it, where somebody just surprises us with a cup of coffee. Yeah. Well, my dears, I am going to let you go on that thought. I will also share my course again in here in case you are interested in working with me. If it doesn't speak to you right now, I totally understand. It's going to be a very small group gathering. I don't know if I'll offer this again. I think it's going to be, I'm really excited to do it, but it's going to be 4 weeks in October. We're going to be looking at 10 of the kind of spiciest cards in the tarot, and we're going to use those for healing prompts. So I'm going to be showing the people in this very small group how I do my shadow work, and how I've learned to do shadow work in the ways that that I have, just looking at parts of ourselves that are asking to be healed. So October is a month that's really good for this. So if you're interested, feel free to just message me. I'll put a link, I'll put information in here as well. And I look forward to whoever's able to. The applications are already coming in, actually, because I shared this. If you're getting this, you were likely on my subscription list, so you might have seen it or missed it. But yeah, that's starting on October 4th, so feel free to check it out, or to message me if you have any questions. Otherwise, I hope that this moon cycle is really healing for you, and that you are able to be gentle with yourself as the seasons change. So thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being here. And good night for now. Enjoy the full moon. Hopefully it gets clear enough in your area that you can see it. All right, bye for now.